I'm Semaan and I'm a licensed psychotherapist. Welcome to my channel. If you found yourself to be enjoying this video as you watch it, please remember to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment with any questions or feedback for me for future videos, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more videos on mental illness and mental health in general. Today, I want to talk about a subject that affects us all, and that is stress. With everything that's going on in the world and just our day-to-day lives in general, I think we can all relate to stress. So what I want to get into today is stress management techniques. But before I get into that, I want to first acknowledge that the fact that we're all here watching this video tells me you already have ways to cope with your stress. Now, some of these ways may be less effective or less healthy than some other ways that I will talk to you about later. But maybe some of the things that we all do is, for example, procrastinating things that seem important but are giving us anxiety. So we think, let's put this on the back burner and I don't want to deal with it right now. I just want some space from it. So procrastination is one of those, maybe not the most effective coping skills, but it still is a coping skill to deal with stress. Another one that I hear a lot about is having a glass of wine every night, which of course isn't a bad thing, but the key here is to recognize what the intention is behind that glass of wine that we're having. Is it to take the edge off? Are we self-medicating, self-soothing? If your answer is yes, then you're probably not engaging in the most effective ways to deal with your stress. Now, we hear a lot of people saying things like, don't drink every night, don't procrastinate, don't oversleep when you're stressed out. Well, okay, if we're getting rid of all of our coping skills and not replacing them with anything else, it's really easy to get extremely overwhelmed with stress. So I don't think it's realistic for us to say we're not going to do any of these things ever again, because I think there is some value to those things. However, I hope what we aim for today is replacing some of the unhealthy coping skills with some new, fresh, healthier ones that are better in the long run and that are just more effective to cope with stress. Before we dive into those coping skills, just remember that these are not problem fixers. These are not the end-all be-all to our stress. I don't think it's realistic for us to get rid of stress altogether, so I hope we aim to manage it and control it instead of just fixing it and not having to deal with stress ever again, because that's not really a realistic expectation. So the first one I'm going to talk about is something we've all heard about, we probably already do anyway, and it's exercising. Why is exercising so effective for stress management? Because it releases the unhappy chemicals from our brains that are adrenaline and cortisol. Those are our stress hormones. And not only does it release those hormones, but it replaces them with happy chemicals like endorphins and dopamine. Those are the ones we really want to up in our brains because those are the chemicals that make us happier, that make us feel less stressed and more effective on the long run. Now, I know exercising needs motivation, it needs discipline, and sometimes we don't have the energy for it. The key here is to set small goals. Let's start with maybe 10 minutes a week and work our way up from there. But exercising, I can tell you, is one of the things I swear by, and a lot of my clients as well. The second technique is also something we've all probably heard before, and it's deep breathing. Now, we all think of deep breathing as taking a deep breath, right? We go do something like this and then tell ourselves it's not working. The key behind deep breathing is what we call diaphragmatic breathing, or engaging our diaphragm. Every person has a diaphragm underneath their chest, and that's the separation basically between your chest and your belly. And that's where we need to focus on filling up the air. So we need to fill up our belly instead of our chest. One thing that can be helpful, and I'm going to back up here so you can all see. One thing that can be helpful is placing one hand on the belly and another one on the chest, taking a deep breath and seeing which hand rises. So again, the key here is to have the bottom hand, the one on the belly, rise and not the one on the top. So this is what a shallow breath looks like. And this is what a deep breath looks like. So here, what we noticed is the difference between where in our body this breath is being held. By holding it in our belly, it means we're taking a deeper breath, so we're bringing a larger oxygen flow into our bodies, which again is really effective in not only lowering stress in general, but lowering our heart rate and also regulating our blood pressure, which are both contributing factors to increased stress levels. The third technique I really like is a gratitude journal. With everything that's going on in the world and all the stress that we live through, it's hard to think about the good news. We're bombarded with so much negativity, so much bad news. Wherever we look, whatever we read, it's hard to come across good news. But we all have things to be grateful for. Every day, little acts of kindness happen, whether with us, whether we did them or someone else did them to us, or just general things that we're grateful for. So keeping a gratitude journal lets us have space to think about some more positive things than what's going on in the world every day with the negativity. So think of it as having an apartment for rent. Instead of renting it to a tenant who's going to trash it, who's going to bring so much damage to your property, think about renting it to a tenant that's maybe kinder, happier, that will take care of your property, that will make sure no damage comes to it. That's kind of how our mind works. So the more we fill it with negativity, the less room there is for some positive thoughts. So we have to be really intentional about keeping a gratitude journal to remind us that there are still good things in this world. Now, when we keep a gratitude journal, we don't just write things that we're grateful for. That's a good start, but we really want to look at the reason behind what makes us feel grateful about a certain act. So for example, if you're in line at a Starbucks or any coffee shop and a person offers to pay for your coffee, then you may choose to write about that experience in your journal. But think about, what was your emotion at that time? How did that act of kindness make you feel? Why do you feel it was worthy of making it to your gratitude journal? So this makes us not only recognize what we're grateful for, but also the reason behind why we feel grateful for a certain act and not others. The last stress management technique I want to share with you all is really my favorite one. I think a lot of my clients who struggle with stress and anxiety in general really find this technique to be effective. It's derived from what we call grounding techniques. And the name of this specific technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. The reason it's called that is because we rely on our five senses to do it. And why do we rely on our five senses? When we're stressed out, we're either thinking about things from our past. Like for example, I had an argument with my coworker this morning. I find myself stressing out about it as the day goes on. Or I find myself worrying about something in the future, like I have an application, a university application essay that I have to fill out, and I'm really stressed out about this, and I find myself thinking about it. So stress or anxiety are either past focused or future focused. What grounding techniques do is they act like an anchor to the present moment. So it's something we can latch onto, which brings our mind back to focusing on where we are presently or currently instead of being focused on the past or on the future. Now the 5-4-3, I'm messing up my fingers here, the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, the way it works is we think of 5 things that we see, 4 things that we feel or touch, 3 things that we hear, 2 things that we smell, and 1 thing that we taste. So how do we practice this technique? Well, first off, it's really subtle, so no one can really tell you're doing it, which is why it's really cool to have that in our bag of tricks when we're feeling stressed out. Picture yourself in a grocery store. You started thinking about this meeting you have tomorrow morning, and you're starting to feel your heart rate increasing, maybe you're sweating a little, you're getting really anxious, and you want to bring yourself back to the present moment. In the grocery store, it's pretty easy to think of 5 things you can see, such as oranges, maybe a carton of chicken stock, some lettuce, almonds, and the floor, right? These are 5 things we saw in a grocery store. What are 4 things we can feel or touch? Maybe the cart underneath our fingers, the pressure of the floor on our feet, and 2 other things that you can think of that you can either touch or feel. Now, 3 things we can hear. maybe the conversation that's happening right next to us, or someone checking out. And then a third thing to think of as well. And then two things you can smell, maybe the perfume of the person in line next to you, or just the aroma of the rotisserie chicken in the store. And then one thing you can taste, this is where you pop either a piece of gum or candy in your mouth and you focus on that. So we're bringing our attention to the five senses that we have, and it really helps ground us back. Again, it acts like an anchor to that present moment. I hope you found those techniques to be helpful. I think they're a great start to mindfulness training as well, which is something we can get into in future videos. But as a start, go ahead and practice exercising, diaphragmatic breathing, keeping a gratitude journal, and the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next one.